All right, welcome back. Hononegah, Algebra 1, Section 6-1, Day 3. This is the last section of the semester this year. So 2020, 2021. Thank you. We're finally into a new year here. Hopefully things will get better. Warm-up exercises. So these are all things that we have done. I would hit pause right now, see if you can get all these right from what we talked about previously. All right, here we go. So the rules that we talked about. If we're multiplying like-based items, right, we would add the exponents. So negative 2 to the third times negative 2 to the fourth makes negative 2 to the seventh. Anytime you have an exponent or a power raised to another exponent, you multiply the exponents together. So x to the 10th, this is 3 to the 6th. If you have a parenthesis, everything in the parentheses raised to that exponent. So 2 to the fourth power, x to the fourth power, then y to the eighth power. So you apply the second raised to the fourth. Anytime you have a negative, make sure you put it in parentheses. X to the eighth divided by. So anytime you're dividing, you're going to subtract the exponents. And then anytime you have more than one item in the parentheses, raise it to the power. All right, so our new today. Let's start looking for patterns here. So 2 to the third power, and 2 to the second power, and 2 to the first power, 2 to the 0 power, 2 to the negative first, 2 to the negative second, 2 to the negative fourth. 3 to the third, second, first, the negative. So there's two items that I want you to notice as we're doing this little exploration here. One, anytime you have something to the 0 power, so going right through the middle here, what happens when you have anything to the 0? Always equal 1. So when I add 2 to the 0, it equals 1. I add 3 to the 0, it equals 1. I add 4 to the 0, it equals 1. And then what happens when you have negative exponents versus positive exponents? So like 2 to the first power is 2, and 2 to the second power is 4, 2 to the third power is 8. But when I have negative exponents, I get a half, a fourth, 8. Well, hopefully you're seeing reciprocal, like you're flipping it, putting it as 1 over. So that is the two rules we're at. Anytime you have a 0 exponent, anything raised to the 0 power will always equal 1. So it doesn't matter what is raised to the 0 power. It can be 3 to the 0. It can be negative 7 to the 0. It can be something crazy like 2xy to the third raised to the 0. All of these are going to equal 1. So the 0 exponent rule is anything raised to the 0 power equals 1. Negative exponent. Anytime you have a negative exponent, it's in the wrong place. It means reciprocal. So if I have x to the negative third, it's 1 over x to the positive third. So anytime you have a negative exponent. Now, that rule also applies if you have a negative exponent on the bottom. This would make x to the fourth on the top. So notice, what I like to refer to it is anytime you have a negative exponent, you need to move it. It's in the wrong place. Okay? It's like crossing the street. If it's a negative exponent, it's on the wrong side. If it's on the bottom, it needs to go to the top. If it's on the top, it needs to go to the bottom. And when you move it, it becomes a positive exponent. That forced the move. So anytime you have a negative exponent rule, it is the reciprocal. All right, so anything to the 0 power is 1. Let's see if we can evaluate all these. Negative 3 to the first. That's just negative 3. Remember, okay, positive exponents, not negative numbers. Now, this one, all right, now we actually have to start talking about something. 4 to the negative third, but it's on the bottom of the fraction. So it needs to get moved to the top of the fraction. So 4 to the third on the top. Now, I'm not sure if they want you to evaluate. It does say evaluate the expression. So if you have a number, right, this would be 64. 4 to the third power is actually 64. So again, depending on whether or not they want you to leave it with exponents or actually evaluate. All right, this one's in the wrong place. It needs to be on the bottom. Now, our rules about exponents, 2 to the fifth over 2 to the fourth. And I probably should have shown one extra step here. So I'm going to do this one again, just to show more work. So I've got a 1 over 2 to the 4th times 2 to the 5th. And from what we talked about previously, so the answer I had was right. It's just exponent raised to an exponent. That does not change. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply it. 8 to the negative second. Can't have a negative. It needs to go on the bottom. And depending on whether or not they want you to evaluate or not, 8 to the second power is 64. Again, anytime you have a negative exponent, it's in the wrong place. So this is 3 to the negative 4th, 4 to the negative 4th. This is 1 over 3 to the 4th, and 4 to the 4th. Now, that is a bigger number here. If they want me to evaluate that particular number, 3 raised to the 4th power times 4 raised to the 4th power would be 20,736. Next one. Anything to 0 powers? 1. M to the negative second means it's in the wrong place. Now the next one's a little bit interesting. The only one that has to move is the B. The A is in the right place, so it doesn't go anywhere, but the B to the negative 8 needs to move to the bottom because it's in the wrong place. The next one, the C to the negative 5th, is in the wrong place. It needs to move to the top. 2 to the negative 3rd, X to the negative 3rd. Both of them need to move to the bottom. Needs the reciprocal up. The negative 4 doesn't need to move, but the X does. Negative numbers is different than negative exponents. Negative exponents means you have to move it. It's the reciprocal up. Now, I don't know if they want me to actually do the 2 to the 3rd. 2 to the 3rd power is 8. Simplified expression, write your answers using only positive exponents. When your answers are done, you're only allowed to have positive exponents. 2 to the 3rd, x to the 3rd, y to the negative 15. So I went ahead and did all of them to the 3rd power. But the y is in the wrong place. So 2 to the 3rd, x to the 3rd, y to the 15 needs to go on the bottom of the fraction. Ooh, the next one's a little bit harder. 2 to the negative second, x to the negative second, y to the 5th. Now, negative exponents mean they're in the wrong location. So both the 2 and the x need to move. They both need to move to the bottom. So I'm running out of space here, but I'm going to move 2 to the second to the bottom, x to the second to the bottom, and it already has a negative 4, an x squared, y squared. Now, there's more work that can be done. The x squared and the x squared, both on the bottom. I multiply those two together to make x to the 4th. 2 squared is 4 times negative 4 is negative 8. So here I got a negative 8 on the bottom. Now I have an x to the 4th on the bottom. Y to the 5th and y to the 2nd make y to the 3rd. So I'm going to erase this, but that is the answer. I ran out of space, but that is the answer for B. A lot of stuff going on there. Again, I'm going to erase this answer so I have room for the next ones. All right. 3, the y is in the wrong place. So 3x. I'm going to move the y to the negative 3rd. Now it's the bottom. 9, x to the 3rd, y. And now it also has a y to the 3rd. So these two right here. Now, the 3 and the 9 is a fraction. So that's 1/3. X over x to the 3rd. That's another conversation. We haven't had any examples like that, so this is the first time we're going to talk about that. Anytime you have something on the top, something on the bottom, we said to subtract. That is true. And I also said yesterday to do top minus bottom. That's also true. But to make your life simpler, I always tell everybody to do bigger minus smaller. So if I have x to the 3rd on the bottom, x to the 1st on top, that's going to be x to the 2nd, but the answer is going to go on the bottom. Because when I subtracted, there was more on the bottom than there was on top. Now, if you do decide to always do top minus bottom, that's not wrong. It just means you're going to get a negative when the bottom is bigger, and you're going to have to do the reciprocal when the bottom is bigger. So I'm saving you a step by doing bigger minus smaller. Next one. Ooh, a lot of negatives going on here. I got a negative 3 raised to the negative 3rd, x raised to the negative 21st, and y raised to the positive 6th. So again, the rules about exponents still apply. These two had negative exponents. They need to move. Y to the 6th does not. X to the 21st down on the bottom. Negative 3 to the 3rd. Now, they want you to evaluate all the numbers. Negative 3 to the 3rd is negative 27. Next one's a bit of a trick question. And here's that scenario that I talked about previously. And I wish that example was a little earlier. Z to the 2nd over Z to the 7th makes a Z to the 5th on the bottom. If you do top minus bottom, you're going to get Z to the negative 5th, which means it's in the wrong location. You need the reciprocal of, which is why it's on the bottom. I always tell my classes to go bigger minus smaller, and wherever the bigger one is where the answer is going to be. Last example. Why don't you try this one by yourself? Hit pause. All right. Anytime I have a negative exponent, I always tell everybody to rewrite it. So the x to the 2nd needs to go on the bottom. Then deal with everything. What about 4 and 8? 4 divided by 8 is a half. X and x to the 2nd are both on the bottom of the fraction, so that makes x to the 3rd. I'm going to add the exponents. And then y to the 4th and y to the 6th. Bigger minus smaller makes y to the 2nd on the bottom. So tonight, homework assignment, I believe, is another worksheet. Nope, it's out of the book. All right, so my class, basically check your Google Classroom to make sure it might be a worksheet or it might be a book assignment. But page 296, it looks like, 5 to 43 on 47 and 49. Please make sure you do the assignment and check your answers in the back of the book. This is one of those assignments that you're just copying your answers. You are not going to get very good at this, and it's going to show up on your tests. If you have any questions, make sure you talk to your teacher. And good.